my darlings. How are you today? It's Thursday the 15th. Yeah, Thursday the 15th of May. And here I am, doing the ironing as only I can. Almost the weekend, kids. Almost the weekend. Bet you can't wait. I know I can. Thought we'd talk today about a very unassuming novel that came out in 1956, almost 70 years ago. I know, but as relevant today as it was back then. Has anybody heard of a little book called The Death of Grass by John Christopher? I have spoken about this extensively over the years that I've been doing YouTube. In fact, I have 2 reviews up already. And if you go to my apocalyptic radio broadcasts and plays, you will find the BBC's version of The Death of Grass on there. And it is fabulous. It is only a short play, but my goodness, does it pack a punch. I'll just be back in a minute. I've run out. I think I'm just enough to get me through. One more hour, and I thought we'll be through this. Awesome. A bit colder today. I got my jumper on. Yeah, I thought we'd talk about the Chung Li Virus. And it's a very old book, don't you think? But oh my goodness me, it's as relevant today as it's ever been. It really is quite the most horrific novel you will ever read. Talk about survivalism. Talk about shortage of food. 9 meals away from anarchy. Don't even scratch the surface. It is about 2 brothers who are basically Cain and Abel. Right? David and John Custance. And they have a mum called Hilda. And their mum takes David and John, when they're little boys, all the way to see old grandfather Beverly on a farm that's called Blind Gill, out in Westmoreland. Now, grandfather Beverly is God, and had Hilda's husband stayed alive, John and David's dad, he would have been Adam, but she is definitely Eve. And Blind Gill is a metaphor for the Garden of Eden. Everything is going tickety-boo in the United Kingdom until, as we're starting in the opening pages of the story, when things start to get a little bit, your ears are pricking up at this point. We haven't quite got to the tasty bit, but we're looking down the barrel of a gun at it. Hong Kong is on its knees Hong Kong will soon fall, and the inhabitants of Hong Kong, they are to be no more. For a terrible, terrible disease has taken over the rice fields of China. And it's not looking good. And they call it the Chung Li Virus. And it rots all the rice that's growing in the rice fields, in the paddies. And from that point onwards, it just gets a little bit more concerning, a little bit worse. And that is the creeping terror as you go through the novel of surely it cannot get any worse. Literally, hold my cup of tea. Let me take you on a journey into an apocalyptic hellscape that was once the United Kingdom. You have two main groups of thought as you're going through this novel. There's the side that wants to share everything and anything with everyone, and you have the other train of thought, group of thought, people of thought, if you will. Say it was a thought experiment. This is a very good thought experiment. And your other side is, I'm so sorry, I know you're going through a hellish time, but I have nothing to spare. And they are the ones that want to reserve, keep, and not share with the outside. They basically want to cut off the outside world and just keep what they have in this country for the citizens of the United Kingdom. And these two will clash at various points throughout the novel. Our main protagonists, which are John and David Custance, the brothers, they grow up, and at the beginning of the novel, it's Christmas time, and they'd gone up, well, it's one of the holidays, they'd gone up to spend some time, had Anne and David and little Mary and their son Davy have all gone to spend some time with John's brother David on the farm. And we start off with discussing the fall of Hong Kong and the level of brutality that the news has picked up on. I can assure you the news won't be showing everything. And it's inferred that that is generally the case. And David and John are both of the opinion that the United Kingdom is sending out help and aid, but it's a drop in the ocean because there's far too many mouths to feed and not enough food to go around. Henceforth the saying 9 meals from anarchy. All right? And it's the slow creeping terror of knowing that the virus can't be stopped. I mean, they have tried anything and everything to be able to stop this virus from spreading, and it can't. They can't stop it. So we get to the point that with Roger, who happens to be John's best friend, he works in the British government, and he made a pact with John that if he could get enough notice, if something was going to happen to the United Kingdom, that he could get message to John and that they'd basically escape and go and stay on David's farm at Blindgill, right? Because they're best friends, they've been through everything together, the children have played together, the families are locked, right? They might not be related, blood related, but they're related in every other way. So Roger's at work one day and he hears that the government has fallen. The last food shipment from America had just docked in Liverpool, and that all other shipments of food to the United Kingdom from America, Australia, have basically been given the hard word, and they've been told to turn their ships around and go back to the point of origin, and no more food is going to be sent to the United Kingdom. That's it, finito. And at the time of writing of this book, and when Samuel, who is wondering where their next meal's coming from, are they going to wake up tomorrow morning? Will they get to go to sleep tonight? And so the intrepid band of brothers tramps across the moorland towards Blindgill. And eventually they end up at the gates to the Blindgill, because there's one way in and one way out. And there's a river that runs down the side of it called the River Lee, which is incredibly deep, fast, and dangerous. And this is quite a pivotal point. And it protects Blindgill Farm. It has to do, because it runs round the side of it, and it acts as a natural barrier and deterrent to anybody who's wanting to come in. And anyway, John turns up at the entrance to Blindgill and just thinks he can walk straight in, but no, he can't, because the entrance has been sealed off, by a Martello tower. If you don't know what a Martello tower is, it has a machine gun attached to the top of it, and it has been manned by a guard, because it is the only farm in the valley that is still capable of producing food. Not grains, but potatoes and beetroots and turnips and anything that's a root vegetable. It is still capable of producing that food. And all the villagers, realising this in Westmoreland, in the little valley of where they are, realise this, and they go to David, John's brother, and say, we need to protect the farm, we're all moving in. John, David's brother, in his naivety, thinks he can just rock up and go straight in with everyone that he's brought with him. And John has the unenviable task of telling his brother David, and David has the unenviable job of telling his brother John, no, you can't just turn up here and just expect that I can just take you all in. The other villages will be up in arms and we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough food, there's not enough places for everyone to sleep, there's too many of you. And the only ones I will allow to come in is yourself, your wife Anne, Mary, my niece, and Davy, my nephew. Everybody else, no, I will not let them in. So John explains his situation back to Pirrie and Roger Buckley. And Roger makes a bit of sense here and goes, listen, we'll just have to make do with what we've got out here. We can't come in. We understand that. Olivia, myself and Steve will find another way to survive. And Pirrie's like, the F you ain't. We all deserve to live after what we've been through. We ride at midnight. We're attacking. We are taking this unit on and everybody that's in it, and we are taking it down tonight. So Pirrie and John decide that at midnight they're going to jump into the river leap, go up the river, and there's a legend in the river where John once fell in when he was a little boy and he remembers where it is. And it's the only way you can get up the river is by standing on this stone ridge that runs up the middle of it. And he and Pirrie reason that the only way that they can get close enough to take down the guard on the gate is by jumping in the river, and the noise of the river disguising the sounds that they would be making as they are advancing to basically rush the machine gun post. Now, also, John knows that David agreed with him that at midnight he would be there to let himself and Mary and Davy in, but only then. So he reiterates to Pirrie that my brother will be here and I don't want to see him hurt. He looks just like me. He's wearing a checkered shirt. How you would tell he was wearing what at midnight without any light on the situation, I don't know. And he's not to be injured. Right, those are John's only stipulations, that David, his brother, is not to be hurt. Well, all holy hell breaks loose. The machine gun is going like the clappers, and Pirrie is hit. And he gets killed. And John is like, we've got to take out the guard that's on the machine gun tower. If I've got any chance of getting into the farm and saving my people, my tribe's people that have come with me. So a massive battle ensues, and the person manning the machine gun is shot by John. Now, after that, quietness. And the people on the outside, John's people, managed to breach the gate and get into the farm. And daylight starts to come up, and they go to check to see where John's brother is, David. And they find out that the person that was on the machine gun post that got shot and killed was David, John's brother. And John's absolutely devastated. And Anne tries to convince him that it was Piri that shot him, but John knows it wasn't, and it was him, and he has to live with that guilt for the rest of his days. But Anne tries to reason with John and said that, well, you're the king of Blind Gill Farm now, John. I'm sorry, but if you want to see your children grow up and survive, then this is how it's going to have to be. And she goes, I know it was your brother, and I'm sorry it was your brother, but you've got to think of Anne and Davy and everybody else that's been on this epic pilgrimage to get here to Blind Gill Farm. And as I said, I know I put spoilers in this, but it's everything you would want in an apocalyptic novel. And what makes it frightening is the creeping dread as the realization starts to fall upon John Custance and Roger Buckley and their families and John's brother David and Piri and his wife Millicent. And the realization not just on them, but on, I would say, everybody that lives within the United Kingdom. And I'm not just saying I'm just talking about the United Kingdom because that's where the book was set. But I should imagine at all of the countries around the world that the exact same thing would be happening where they lived. And they're having to find a solution to the pressing problem of there are too many of us and there is not enough food. And it is just a brilliant read. As I say, I have done a full review on this subject matter. And I do recommend that you sit and you read it. And it won't take you very long because it's not a very long book. But my goodness, is it brilliantly written. I've often said that if there was one thing that I would rescue after I've got the entire family and Monty, Monty, of course, his family. So all my family out of the house, I would run back in just to grab this copy because it means so much to me. And there's not many books I would do that for. But yeah, The Death of Grass by John Christopher That's one of them. So if you're looking for something to start this weekend and you weren't sure what you fancied reading, to be honest, but you fancied something pretty epic and an odyssey, may I recommend The Death of Grass? You cannot put it down. Once you pick that book up, you will be glued to it. It's just that kind of page turner. You just honestly, they say it's going to be 70 years old next year. It feels as though it was written today. In fact, had it been written today, it would have probably have garnered a lot more press. So, yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. Another book I would also recommend, and there is a TV series for this. There were 3 series of this television show made by the BBC, and it is called Survivors by Terry Nation. That television show, again, done in the 1970s, so it's nearly 50 years ago. All right, it's nearly 50 years ago. I would definitely recommend that as watching. They rebooted it 2008, 2009. But it wasn't really anything as good as the original series. And the Survivors, it's basically a flu virus that comes out of China and decimates the entire world. And we pick up the story from a rural village in northern England. And it's the story of how everyone in that little village survived. It was a book by Terry Nation, who is responsible for Blake 7. If you've never seen that, may I recommend for your viewing this weekend, watch Blake 7. It's next level. It's so good. He's also responsible, is Terry Nation, for an awful lot of what goes on or did go on in the past with Doctor Who. But he was also responsible for the book Survivors and the television series Survivors. And wow, that's like the visual aspect of the book The Death of Grass if it was a TV show. Absolutely amazing, scary as anything. Again, deals with shortages of everything, including human beings, because there's not many left over after the bug went through. And it's what we, as the survivors, do to survive. Not very nice choices are made, but survival's the goal. Then, again, I suppose you will do whatever it takes to ensure that you and yours. Amazing, amazing books. Amazing television show. In fact, I think if it's still up on my playlist and it hasn't been changed, the entire series of The Survivors is up there as well as a review for the book by Terry Nation. So if you're looking for something to read or in general watch this weekend, may I recommend a fabulous apocalyptic weekend for you, my darling. So you never knew you could have it so good. You never knew you had it so good. Yeah. Thank goodness it's only fiction, eh, kids? Absolutely. Gosh, we wouldn't want that to come to real life now, would we? Goodness me, no, no, no. Yeah. I think it's going to be a nice weekend, to be honest. We're going to have some sunshine. It's not going to be the end of the world. The Chung Li will never be, and we hope. Can't imagine how we'd have to survive as a human race if they ever did. Oh no, Lordy be. I don't know. But yes, if you're looking for something a little different, something you may have never considered reading, or nay, even listening to as a play, or watching as a movie, or a television show, there you are. Gosh, I'm nearly done. I've been at this all day. I'm feeling tired now. It's a Thursday afternoon and I am feeling two left, me darlings, and then I'm going to make a cup of tea and sit down and feel less faint because I'm still so tired. My eldest is out at the moment on a driving lesson. She has her theory test next week. I know. Goodness me. That came round quick. So, yeah. Updates on the youngest. We are doing something called the Mission Impossible. We are trying to get her gainful paid employment so she can have work for this summer, which means she has funding for next year to finish off her masters. Living the dream, kids, living the dream. I am convinced we will get her sorted. I just don't quite know how we're going to do it. But hey, sometimes you just have to trust the process and believe that you can make it. Because there isn't any other option. But goodness me, it's been a fraught couple of days worrying about her. Well, as any parent would, you know. You want the very best that you can for your children. And it's what you're prepared to do as a parent to get them to where they need to be. It ain't easy being a mom, ain't easy being a dad. And in this economic, enlightened world that we live in, every day sometimes feels like an uphill struggle. And it's hard. It's hard to keep going when more and more is getting piled on top of you and you're expected to just keep going. Oh boy, is it tough. But it will be sorted and she will be fine. I am convinced of it, because there is no other flipping option other than it's got to happen. We have got to make it happen. To which I would like to say a very heartfelt thank you to everyone who has tuned in, that has supported us and is continuing to support us. I would love to give an absolute shout out recently to, I will get his name up and running. If I press the right buttons, it would help, wouldn't it? Here we go. Little Library of Horrors. He's just past the 400 mark of subscribers and he's been going quite a few years. So send a little bit of love his way. Little Library of Horrors. He has been so supportive and so kind to myself recently. The other night I was absolutely broken when the news got to me that the job that was lined up for my little girl to do over the summer wasn't going to be there, and I was just devastated. Absolutely devastated. All I could think of was, how on earth are we going to do it? How on earth are we going to get her through a master's? But get her through it, we will. Because this family does not quit. And I just had to have somebody sort of pat me on the head and say, you got this. You got this. You'll be all right. Don't you worry. Trust the process. Everything's going to be all right. And you know what? It will be. It will be. It's just, I'm a little tired at the moment. I'm just a little sleepy fairy, tired in every way, needs a cup of tea and a little sit on her bum. And I will be fine, I will be fine, it will be okay. It will. But I thank you all so deeply from the bottom of my heart for all the love and support that you've given us, and Little Library of Horrors for picking me up and saying, you got this. And for Alan, I don't want to forget my darling Alan, who's always got my back. And is always telling me, you're all right. Well, if he were from Yorkshire, he'd be going, you're all right, kid. Now then, Fairy, you're going to be all right, love. And you know what? The first time this week, I think I might be. Yeah, I know. My confidence has nosedived. My ability to problem solve took a real beating the other night. And needless to say, I was very sad and very upset. But I just know that circumstances, the way they are, gotta just keep on going, keep on trucking, keep on believing that we're gonna make it. And we will. I'll probably be battered and bruised, but we will make it. In fact, I think the results must be in at the moment on the 10th of May, with this manifesting to get us to 4,000 watched hours in long form video. We are at 526 valid public watch hours, and the subscribers, thank you my darlings for supporting us, is 1,417. So thank you very, very much. We truly appreciate you so, so much for helping us, because what the plan is, if we can get monetized by 4,000 hours and all the bits and pieces that have to go in there, then at least that can go towards our daughter to get her through her master's next year. And you know, that would just be a beautiful thing to be able to do that for her.